Okay, so it's about 16 degrees out, and I headed out to a somewhat local area to check out some of the what I think will be frozen waterfalls, because it's been bitterly cold for the past several days. So we're gonna check these falls out, see what I can get. A couple goals here, photograph of frozen waterfalls, and then just sort of see if I can find any kind of interesting small scenes in some of the ice or anything like that as we go. So let's see what happens. So from a distance here, it does look like the falls are frozen. They're right down here around this corner. The water's still running through the creek, but for the most part, the falls is frozen. There's probably some water running behind them. So the tricky part will be getting down and all the snow and ice covered hill. It's sort of a steep descent. I brought my spikes, so we'll see how it happens. Okay, made it down and made a little ways in. The slope down was pretty steep. I wore my spikes, grabbed the walking stick from the Forerunner to have that. But made it down pretty steep at the top. Once you got past the top, it wasn't too bad. Made the quick creek crossing, and now we're making our way back towards the falls, which are back that way. Frozen falls, they are frozen, so we're just gonna cut our way up here and we'll get there. So we're fighting the GoPro a little bit here. Kept saying battery low, even though it showed 81%, so I'm not sure what's up with that, but swap batteries. I got spares with me. Like I said, we're working our way up. The Frozen Falls is up that way. We're gonna get some shots of the Frozen Falls, and I'm probably gonna work and play around in this creek to see if I can find any kind of small scenes. I brought the Nikon Z7 II and the Tamron 70-300, which is predominantly what I'm planning on playing with. I got the wide angle for the falls in case I want it, but I'll play with that on the way back out. For now, we're just gonna head up, get some compositions of the Frozen Falls, and go from there and make our way through here. So I've photographed this waterfall several times from this vantage point in this area. I've got other videos out here. Let's see, I did the Micro Four Thirds shooting out here. Did my mentoring video with Alex out here. And because the water's sort of frozen, I think I'm gonna try to make it over to that side and sort of shoot in this way, just get a different composition than normal. Then I'll probably bounce back over here and we'll play with that, see what happens. Okay, so I got my gear set up. I brought two lenses because I figured I'd work a lot with the 70-300, and I brought my wide. I did not bring a mid-range, and of course, where I sort of set up here, mid-range probably would have worked best. I put the 70-300 on. 70 is too tight into the scene. The 14-30 is pretty pulled back. With the Z7 II, though, I got some crop factor I can get in there. Shoot, I may even put it in the crop mode and shoot it that way. So we are going to set up here first. What I've got this water sort of flowing down from the Frozen Falls. We'll see if I can make something cool happen with that, and then we'll bounce around. But first, going to set up right about here with the 14-30. I'll be in probably all the way out to 30, and I'll either look at considering cropping back in Photoshop or switching the camera into crop mode so I can just sort of punch in just that little bit more. Let's see, that crop factor at 30 would put me at about a 45 millimeter, which might work out just about right. So we're gonna play, see what happens. So like I said, first we're shooting this, I'm at 30 millimeters, ISO 64, f/16, shutter speed 1/30th. I almost want to put an ND filter on because I've got the water coming through the foreground here, and I think it could be blurred out a little more if I put a little more long exposure on it. But I'm going to just play a little bit and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I just put the camera into crop mode, and what that does is it turns it sort of into a crop sensor. So it takes my 14-30 and I get to multiply it by 1.5. So my 30 multiplied by 1.5 becomes 45 millimeters, which puts me right about in that mid-reach length I want. I like the composition a little better, falls a little closer, so I'm going to shoot with that now in crop mode. I do lose some of my megapixels. You know, the other option to do this would be to take the picture here and then crop in Photoshop. I'm just going to do it here so I can see the composition right here and work with it, and we'll shoot like that. So I did end up putting my ND64 filter on. That let me slow this down just a little bit. I don't know if there's enough texture in the water to really get anything great off of it, but it'll give me something more to play with when I get it back. So I got a few shots here. Like I said, I did switch to crop mode just to sort of get that extra punch since I didn't bring a mid-range lens. And that's a handy little trick if you're ever out and you didn't bring a mid-range and you're on like a full frame camera like this, you can do that DX mode, get that little bit of extra punch off of a lens that you happen to have with you. So I'm gonna get a couple more shots here. I'm gonna work my way up over here, get a couple angles, pop over there. So I'll probably have about 3 compositions of this waterfall. And then I am going to switch over to my 70-300 and we're going to look through here and look for textures in the ice. I'll probably try to shoot some of the textures in the waterfall and just try to get some of those small scenes. So really after sort of 2 big shots here with the Nikon Z7 II today, and that is the frozen waterfall as a whole, and then just sort of some of the smaller scenes that are around. And I'll use the 70-300 on that. I've been wanting to play with that lens a little more anyways, and we'll see what we can walk away with. Okay, so I've moved up here a little closer just off to the other side of the falls, and what I've got these sort of snow-covered rocks and things like that, which I think look pretty cool. I think I'm actually going to go for a slightly lower composition here. I'm going to pop the ND filter off. Don't really need it. The running water's over here, and once I come down, you won't really see it as much. I don't want to go too low because it is a little debris, but I just want to bring it down just a bit. We'll see what happens. So I did lower one leg extension in, just get down just a touch lower. I like the composition, get just a little above waist level here, shooting through this snow-covered field of rocks. A little bit of running water over here. Won't really see it because of the angle, and get a few shots here. Did remove the ND filter since I'm not seeing this moving water to speed up my shutter speed a little bit. So that puts me around f16, shutter speed of 1/3, and an ISO of 64 at the moment. I'm going to do 1 manual focus stack on this, again, because I do have some boulders here towards the front of me, sort of work them through the scene. So always handy trick, stick your hand in front of the camera. That marks the beginning of your focus stack. Pull the focus in nice and close, find an area of contrast, get my focus, take the first shot, move the focus point further into the scene. I move it about 1/3 of the way in the scene. Take this shot, probably end up doing 4 for this one. Move it further into the scene. Now I'm sort of like right at the base of the waterfall. This is my 3rd shot of this manual focus stack. And then I'm going to move it right up to the ridge of the waterfall, get my focus, take the shot. This will be 4 images of my manual focus stack. Put my hand here, so when I get back home on the computer, I know which 4 images to grab to stack together. And that's it for that. Okay, I'm going to make my way back across here. I'm going to maybe set up for 1 quick shot here in the middle before I aim for the shot on the other side, but we'll see what happens. You can follow along. Okay, so I got myself over here sort of towards the center. I am going to take my camera out of DX mode now because I'm a lot closer, so there's no reason to be in that. 'Cause now I can use the whole focal length of my lens, get my full megapixel. Still going to end up zooming in, but this will help me get the higher resolution I want. Get a couple shots here. So I'm going to do 1 more shot of the waterfall here. I think I'm now 1 or 2 over what I said I was going to get. I think I was mainly aiming for 3 compositions. I've now done 1, 2, 3. I'll end up with a 4th composition over here, sort of my old standby when I'm at this spot. Then I'm going to sort of lighten the load up, switch into the 70-300, and I'm going to do try to get some textured shots of the waterfall. Again, those small intimate scenes, one to just show off the detail. There's some icicles hanging up over here. Might see if something can happen here. And of course, in this creek bed, there's all sorts of little clumps of frozen ice next to a snow-covered rock. I'm going to play with that. We'll do a lot of that playing like right around in here. And then as we hike back out, we'll see what happens and see if there's anything else to grab. And I think that'll probably wrap it up for this morning. Like I said, I wanted to head out with the Nikon Z7 II. I haven't shot this waterfall when it's frozen before, so I wanted to get that and play with just that 70-300 and some of those smaller scenes. Again, the smaller scenes are still practice for me, learning to train my eye to see those a little better. And so I try to incorporate that into a lot of my trips right now, is get my big, grander scenes that I'm used to shooting, that I like to shoot, and then trying to train my brain to think more of some of those smaller scenes to get something interesting. I'm going to move forward just a little bit, just to really take advantage of this wide angle, see what I can get, play with that. Oh, So that's not going to work because this ice is not strong enough to hold me to move forward to get that shot. So I guess we're stopping there. So I'm just going to work my way up through here, get the last composition of the big waterfall as a whole before we switch over to that 70-300 and work our way through here a little bit with that. Okay, so that wraps up my frozen waterfall parts of the pictures. I'm going to switch over now to my 70-300, and we're going to just sort of move around, again, looking for textures, small scenes, things like that. This is an area I'm trying to practice and grow with my own photography. So I'm going to take that opportunity before I head out of here to practice some of that. And that's a big thing I recommend if you're out, if you are trying to learn to grow a skill. You don't have to go out just to dedicate a day just to that. Go do some of the stuff that you sort of gravitate towards, but then sprinkle in some of that stuff that you want to practice and learn more of, whether it be moving from small scenes to bigger scenes to small scenes. Just sprinkle in some of that stuff you want to practice while you're out doing some of the other stuff you want to do. So for this section, I'm probably not going to talk you through every single scene. My intent is to move a little quick, look at some things, find some things, test, experiment, so I have more variety of things to look at and see what works, what doesn't as I work through this practice phase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap batteries on this camera, set you up in a nice big wide angle shot over here, and I'm just going to sort of move around here and watch, and then we'll do a quick talk at the end, see how I feel about it, and then go from there. Okay, so I did switch over to 70-300. I am leaving the CPL on just to take a little bit of glare. We're going to be photographing lots of ice near the water, how the ice crystals are forming. So I think the polarizer will help with that. So we'll play with that and we'll work around through here. First, we're going to just get some textures of the waterfall. Already from a first glance, I think I'm going to be pretty happy with how that comes out. So find a good composition there. Now, one of the big things I like about this Tamron 7300, it lets me use my L bracket nice and easy, and so I can just swap it over like this and get nice and secured, nice and lightweight, doesn't make it front heavy. So I really like that about this lens. Okay, I think that's it for today. Got the shots of the frozen waterfall. Practiced lots of my smaller scene stuff. I flipped through, looked at the images in the back of the camera, and I think I got a few that are okay. I might come out with 1 or 2, maybe 3 that are okay. Good practice. From here, I'm going to pack up, head out. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like I said, we're out here with the Nikon Z7 II, just sort of chasing some frozen waterfalls, chasing some small scenes, and seeing what we come up with on this frigid 16-degree day here in Ohio. So if you liked today's video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see future landscape photography content from me, including tips, tricks, behind the scenes, mini gear reviews, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any landscape photography content from me. And thank you for watching.